Tibia. This is the tibia. More specifically, this is the proximal tibia. Okay, so we can see something immediately real nicely. Tibial tuberosity, a big volcano right here. All of this is the head of the fibula. Head of the fibula. It's always little. The fibula is little. Remember, you always tell little fibs. So little fibs. Has three parts actually. Let's see if we can get it over here. Has an apex right here. This whole thing, this whole bump is the head, and then the skinny part is the neck right in here of the fibula. Let's see, I think we're going to have to do this kind of sideways because this is... Now there's some articular facets here. This is the superior tibial fibular joint, which is a true diarthroidal joint. You can zoom in a bit on it. Okay, so you can't see on this specimen, but there are facets on both. Which would this be? Well, this is always lateral. So this is the lateral condyle of the, all of this is the lateral condyle of the tibia. So there's articular facets on both the lateral condyle and the medial part of the head of the fibula. Okay, so let's see what else we can see here. I think I'm going to turn it this way. Let's back out a little bit. Okay, so which way's forward? You can see the tubercle. There's the, what's that? Tibial tuberosity. For insertion of the, you know that one. It's that ligament that goes between the apex of the patella. Tibial tuberosity. Tibial ligament. Some call it the tibial tendon. It's really a ligament, right? Bone to bone. Okay, now we have kind of a aircraft or helicopter landing pads, two of them here. Control tower in the middle. So the whole ball of wax is called the tibial plateau. Tibial plateau. What side is this? There's your hint. Okay, that's lateral. So that is the articular surface of the lateral tibial condyle. Okay, if there's a pin here, it's the articular surface. You could add superior in there if you want. I think the notes say superior articular surface, and it's sitting on top of all of this, right? All of this bone here is the lateral tibial condyle. Where's the epicondyle? There's no epicondyles of the tibia, only the femur. Okay, so articular surface of the lateral tibia, tibular condyle. Some people just call it the lateral tibial plateau, but let's call it superior articular surface of the lateral tibial condyle. So then this would be the medial articular surface of the medial condyle, or medial tibial condyle. Now, this is, I said it's the kind of control center for the two helicopter pads. That is the intercondylar area in here. And specifically, we have two mountains here. And both of these mountains collectively are called the Intercondylar Eminence. The Intercondylar Eminence is all of this stuff. And specifically, this one's lateral. So that would be the intercondylar tubercle. Medial intercondylar tubercle would be right here. Let's see if we can get another view of that. There we go. Okay, there's the fibula, so that's lateral. So, what's that? Lateral intercondylar, because it's inter means it's in between the two condyles. Intercondylar tubercle lateral intercondylar, I'm sorry, medial intercondylar tubercle. And there's also a, I don't know if you could see it, that's probably pushing the limits of my machine, but there's an anterior intercondylar area for ACL, PCL come off there. And back here, which you can't see, well now you can see, there's a posterior intercondylar area right here. Okay, and I think that's going to take care of that part for us. Let's go look here. I don't know if you can see this or not. We said that's the tibial tuberosity. There's one more structure that should be in your notes. It's very important because the IT band connects into it, right? So this area right here, I had a duct named this Gertie. So this is Gertie's tubercle. You can see it's a nice bump right here, and that's where the IT band will ultimately connect right into there, iliotibial band. Okay, and the lateral part. Alright, so if we move down, let's see how we're going to do this. So this is going to be kind of hard to see, but we have a very sharp region right here. Okay, so that's these sharp regions are called borders. So this is the anterior border of the tibia. I would probably, if I tagged it, I would tag it where it's the sharpest, which would be right here. Although I'm not sure how the tag would be. So anything lateral to this, like all of this, if this is the anterior border, here's the fibula, so all of this is lateral. This is the lateral surface. Lateral surface of the tibia. What's this then? This is all the medial surface. And then, this is really hard to see, but there's another sharp edge right here. So this is interosseous border, and I can feel it's very sharp, interosseous border. And then let's talk about the little guy. What's the little guy? This is a very complicated bone, actually. This is the fibula, little fib, and it doesn't have one sharp border, and this specimen isn't the greatest because it's rounded. It's often very flat on the top. So just like the medial and lateral lips of the linea aspera, the lateral lip of this sharp border here, that's actually called the anterior border. Let's see if we can zoom it in. I don't think you're going to be able to see this, but let's zoom it way in so maybe you can see it. Okay, so this part right here, that's the anterior border. Now if you go to the other side here, that's the interosseous border, and that's where the interosseous membrane connects to the other interosseous border of the tibia. So interosseous border is be right there. Very complicated. And then the surfaces, so this would obviously be the lateral surface, and then we won't even get, that's beyond our scope, I think. I'm not going to go there. It's just too hard. So now let's go down to the foot. Zoom out a little bit. Okay, let's take a look at the ankle joint here. Might have to do this with arrows on the software, but okay, so this is the tibia, distal tibia. This is the medial epicondyle? No. What's that called? Medial malleolus. Medial malleolus. And this? Lateral malleolus. We have a very important joint right here. Athletes can injure this. They fracture this. If they get a, like we learned, osteochondroitis dissecans, if they get a fragment of articular cartilage in here, bad news, right? So this is, what is this? Talocrural joint. Talocrural joint. aka is the mortise joint. It's also known as, that name's been around. It's not in any of your books or notes, but you should definitely write it in there because it's a common name for it. So if I flip this down, what bone would this be? Let's try to zoom in here a bit on this. So, well, this is the talus, right? The tibia articulates with the talus, and specifically, we have kind of a chicken bone knuckle thing here. So this is the dome of the talus, number, what is that, 193? Dome of the talus is here. And then it gets kind of skinny, the waist of the talus, but we don't call it that. That's the neck of the talus. Neck of the talus. You can see it from here, the side view. This is all neck. Let's go back to this view. And then the fat part right here, where the little A is, that's the head of the talus. So B is the neck, A is the head of the talus. The talus articulates with the navicular bone. Okay, a very big bone. Right, navicular bone, let's flip it over, here it is. There's the head of the talus again, neck of the talus, body of the talus is just all of this. So we have a very sharp bump right here. So all of these bumps are called, with exception of one, they're called tuberosities. So that's the tuberosity of the navicular. And what's the bone that we articulate with right here? Well, this is medial cuneiform. This is the medial cuneiform. And then this, slide her down a little bit, this bone is the calcaneus. This is the tuberosity, all of this on both sides, tuberosity of the calcaneus. And we have processes, they're called tubercles, but these are way bigger than tubercles. Netter and Gray both call them processes, so I think that should probably be changed in the notes. But this is the medial process of the calcaneal tuberosity. It's a mouthful. Medial process of the calcaneus, I'll accept on the test. Then we have this little ledge here. Let's go kind of upside down for you to look at this. You see how that's a ledge. Sustentaculum tali. Sustentaculum tali. Let's try to look at it at different angles here. Sustentaculum tali. It's right here again. Kind of hard to get the depth of it here. There we go. There you can see how it sticks out. Part of the calcaneus. And it supports, who does it support? Who's this? It's the navicular. Focus is going a little cuckoo here. Let's let it settle down. Okay, so sustentaculum tali, where that little A is. And we have a groove right here. I don't know if you can see it very good. There's a nice groove. Okay, that's for hairy. Flexor hallucis longus comes around the medial malleolus. Third around the medial malleolus, remember, it goes deep and it goes right through this groove right here. So that's the groove for flexor hallucis longus. Okay, and there you can see what would that joint be? That's the subtalar, that's the front part of the subtalar joint. Here's the one we saw in lab from the back. It's the posterior part of the subtalar joint, anterior subtalar joint. Alright, let's leave the foot in this position for a second. So we said this is the talus, this is the calcaneus. The talus connects with this bone, which is the navicular, so this was the tubercle, navicular tubercle, this bump right here. Now who does the calcaneus articulate with? Who's this? Strange angle. This is the cuboid. Cuboid is always lateral. That's the cuboid. Cuboid also has another big bump right there. Tuberosity. Tuberosity of the cuboid. Has a tunnel right here. between it and this bump. Who's that bump? That's the tuberosity of the base of the fifth metatarsal, right? Head of the fifth metatarsal, shaft of the fifth metatarsal, base of the fifth metatarsal. Some people call it the styloid process, but Netter says tuberosity, Gray says tuberosity of the base of the fifth metatarsal. So see, we have a tunnel right here. Nice little tunnel. Who goes through there? Who comes around on the lateral surface, goes over here to attach to the base of the first metatarsal and the medial cuneiform. That is Peroneus longus tendon, and we can see that in lab. We've seen that, Peroneus longus tendon. Okay, so who's this little weird guy kind of squished in there? Intermediate cuneiform. And then who's this one? Lateral cuneiform, right? No, that's medial cuneiform. Lateral is always toward the pinky, right? Medial cuneiform, intermediate cuneiform, lateral cuneiform. And we did this again. Talus, big bone here. Navicular, medial cuneiform. What about this? Medial cuneiform connects to who? Base of the first metatarsal. Okay, let's look at from a different view here. Let's zoom out, get your bearings. Zoom back in. Kind of a tough little area here, but an important area. So we kind of got an oblique thing going on here. So what's this? Lateral malleolus of the fibula. Don't forget to say that, or points off. Some call it the head of the fibula, this whole thing. So there's a joint here. This would be the inferior tibial fibular joint, would be right here. There is some important ligaments that connect these together. I'm not sure if they're on your list. I don't think they were, but they're important because you can sprain them. If they're not, they should probably put them on there for boards. This is the anterior, they're real simple. Anterior tibial fibular ligaments would be here. On the posterior side, there would be posterior tibial fibular ligaments. You could call them inferior if you want to throw that word, but I don't think that's necessary. Okay, so there you have it. Let's move on here. This is a complicated area. So now we're looking, which view? Lateral or medial view? Well, here's the lateral malleolus of the fibula, so this is a lateral view. Here's the calcaneus. This bump right here, good, that's the lateral process of the tuberosity of the calcaneus. There's a bump right here that in some specimens is really, really prominent. You can't see it so good here. And it actually splits the tendons of Peroneus longus and brevis as they come by. So that's important. That is the Peroneal Trochlea, or Fibular Trochlea is the preferred name for that. Kind of not tuberosity, because it's really, really even bigger than more prominent than tuberosity. Alright, so who's this? Okay, there's the, you can see that lateral tuberosity at the base of the fifth metatarsal, really good. So that's got to be the cuboid. Notice how the cuboid articulates with, so big it articulates with the fourth and the fifth base of the metatarsals here. So pretty big. What's this joint called? It's on your list. Well, these are the metatarsals. So these are the tarsals. So it's the tarsal-metatarsal joint. Tarsal-metatarsal joint. It's not perfectly easy. What's this joint called here? This one that's kind of between the bones, between the tarsals. These are the intertarsal joints. And what about this back one here? Transverse tarsal joints. Transverse tarsal joint here, transverse tarsal joint. Right? So medially it's formed by the what and what? Medially it's formed by the navicular, the medial and intermediate cuneiform. I mean, that's going too far, but you get the point. And the calcaneus and the cuboid form the lateral part of that transverse tarsal joint. Alright, now let's talk about an important hole here. And this one's a little exaggerated because the skeleton's kind of a little, has some slack in it. An important hole right here. See this hole? What's that? Sinus tarsi. This is the sinus tarsi. Sinus tarsi. Okay. What makes the sinus tarsi? Definitely need to know what creates the sinus tarsi. Above, we have the talus, but more specifically, we have a sulcus. They call it the sulcus tali. So anything in here, any sticker here, sulcus tali, anything down here, sulcus calcanei. Sulcus calcanei. So the two sulcuses make up the sinus. And what's that important ligament? It's a double inside here that we saw. It actually holds the subtalar joint together. That's the interosseous talocalcanei ligaments. So interosseous talocalcanei ligaments, or calcaneus, or calcaneal ligaments, I think it is. Calcaneal ligaments. Okay, so we got that one done. I think we're about done. Talked about that. Talked about the carpals. Let's finish up here. So these are the metacarpals, base, head. Heads of the metacarpals are here. Why do you have to know all this stuff? Well, when you get in practice, you're going to see fractures of these different regions, of the base of the second metatarsal, the base of the third, the head of the third, the shaft of the fourth. You have to know this stuff because you have to describe the fracture in your x-ray. So who cares? Well, if it's a personal injury case where it goes to the lawyers, and the lawyers, medical doctors review your records, and if you say something silly here, you're going to not look very good in the community, and no one's going to want to refer you patients. If you're an excellent diagnostician, the lawyers goes, ooh, this guy's pretty sharp. If I ever had to call him into court, the guy knows his stuff, so he might put you on his referral list. All right, let's go over these, and then we're done. These are all twisted around, so do the best we can. These two are good. So these are the phalanges, collectively called, all of these joints, but the phalanges have parts. So this is the proximal phalanx of digit 2, middle phalanx of digit 2, distal phalanx of digit 2. If we talked about a fracture in both of these, both middle phalanxes, these would be the phalanges, the proximal phalanges of digit 3 and digit 2. See how that goes? Now the joints, well, let's talk about this. This is a special one, right? What are these? Where's the middle phalanx? There's none here in the big toe. You just have a proximal phalanx and a distal phalanx, and that's it. Now the joints, we talked about this one. Oh no, we didn't. This is a metacarpal or tarsal bone. So this is the metatarsal phalangeal joint. Patient has swelling in the metatarsal phalangeal joint of the great toe, or of digit 1. Metatarsal joints. Now the joints between the proximal and distal, proximal and middle phalanx or phalanges, that would be the dip. Or no, that'd be the pip. So this is the proximal interphalangeal joint. This is the dip, the distal interphalangeal joint. Okay, it's proximal interphalangeal joint, distal interphalangeal joint. What about here? There's not. This is called just the interphalangeal, the ip. So we have a pip, dip, and ip, interphalangeal joint. So there's no interphalangeal joints anywhere except on the thumb and on the toe. All right, I think I have talked long enough. What else did I want to say? I don't want to say anything more. Okay, well, good luck on your testing, and we'll see you in the next video.